Species.
Our guest today is Kitty Rallo. Kitty is an actor who recently has been working with Dragonmount.com. She's a host of the Wheel of Time community show, and she runs the Dragonmount TikTok, which can also be found on Facebook and Instagram at Dragonmount. Kitty, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic.
This is great. And I like the moon. Is there a Landfear vibe happening with the shirt, or it just happens to be?
So this is my normal aesthetic, but it's also a Landfear aesthetic. Mm-hmm. Take from it what you will.
I love it. I love the Landfear impression. So let me just tee this up for listeners to the podcast. I'm not that big on Star Wars. Steve, don't get too upset with that.
I won't throw my Skittles at you.
Yeah, I'm a Wheel of Time nerd, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the Wheel of Time, it is an epic fantasy series that came out. I think Eye of the World came out in the early 90s, and I have been waiting. I've reread it many times. I've been waiting for a show to come out. There's a show coming out. There's a lot of buzz about Wheel of Time, and Kitty is a big part of the community. As I mentioned before, she is very involved with Dragonmount. So in this show, we're going to talk a little bit about Wheel of Time, and we're going to talk about some of the pronunciations, and I'm very excited. Steve, on the other hand, is going to be learning.
I am. Tonight. I recognize the term TikTok from earlier, and that's about it. So we'll all be learning things today.
Yeah, exactly. So Kitty, I saw the Wheel of Time pronunciation guides on Instagram, and I just said, okay, this is a perfect time for me to wedge Wheel of Time into my podcast. So I thought, it is hard to know how to pronounce certain words and phrases, especially proper names. So we're going to get to that. But I was curious about your origin story with Wheel of Time. Are you a longtime fan? Did you recently get into it with your association with Dragonmount?
In college, I lived across kitty corner in the dorms to my best friend, and she kept telling me I was such a green. And I had no idea what the hell she was talking about because I had never read books. Now, I was huge into fantasy. I loved Terry Pratchett, Terry Brooks, but I never read Wheel of Time. And she wanted to go to a live event that was hosted by Tarvalon.net and didn't want to go by herself. So I joined before I even read the first book. And I kept thinking, oh, maybe I'm a brown. No, I'm a brown. I'm a brown, right? No. I'm a green. Yeah. I'm a green, 100%. She got me right. And the best part is we all, Tarvalon.net it's not a role-based community, but we do have all of you work your way up the ranks and you have your fake name, and her fake name is Pilar, and she goes by Pi for short. And that's who she is to me, to the point that even her job today, she is called Pi. So
Wow. Yeah. Well, one of my questions was going to be, what's your oddjaw? So, and you're green, if you're green, you're ready to go to war. You're ready to fight when needed. And you can have more than one warder. So that's exciting.
I do.
Okay. Well, there you go. And we talked before, you had a little Landfear character going on as well. So that's very exciting. Well, I would say that for me, it was just seeing the book in the bookstore was very exciting. And I saw that the much maligned cover by Daryl K. Sweet, right? I have to say I have a warm place in my heart for those covers, but I do also like the e-covers or the digital covers that have come out since then. I don't know what your take is on the covers, but
I'm going to say they're nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's where they should stay for
Steve,
the old covers.
The covers, it's like characters aren't in right proportion. They don't look like they are in the books, but they are mysterious enough to where I needed to know where Lan and Moiraine, or these two characters who I didn't know who they were yet, were going on this cover of this book. So Dragonmount, how did you get involved with Dragonmount? With the community show and everything else you have going on there.
There's a convention every year when there's not a pandemic called JordanCon, and it is in Georgia, obviously based on Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. And that's where I met a lot of people from Dragonmount, including Jason, who is the owner, the creator for Dragonmount. And he and my sister are really good friends. And when they decided to start the Wheel of Time community show, they needed a host who's also a face and an actor and a decent person.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Dragon Mount now, you're right on the front page. And that's one thing I was wondering, like, I know you're an actor, but were you an actor hired just to sort of do this part, or were you a fan? You've already answered. You actually have been a fan for a while.
Oh, yes. I've been a part of this. I really don't know where my life would have been without Wheel of Time communities. Like, my absolute best friends in the world are from these communities, and I meet strangers on the internet.
Yeah. I was talking to Steve about this, and for me, so earlier in this episode, so we're talking about mispronunciations and other ways that you can mess up words and phrases. And one of them is misheard song lyrics. And I was thinking how one of the two things I did, I guess, in public on the internet, when the internet first came out back in the 90s, was those two things. It was Wheel of Time communities, and it was song lyrics. I'm like, what are they saying in this song? Remember, and you could like finally, well, you're much younger than us.
You don't know that.
I
said they're ageless.
That's right. And that's another great reason that you got picked for this.
And by the way, the number one thing Scott looked up was how to fix his wagon. We are that old. That, the internet was there, but that horse isn't going to go without a wagon behind it. Just saying.
Right. Exactly. But it was song lyrics, but it was also these Wheel of Time communities. And it was so exciting. Like, for me, the FAQ, I would just spend hours when I should have been doing homework, either reading Wheel of Time or reading the FAQ or being on, the forums at Tarvalin, you mentioned, .net, or Dragon Mount. I mean, I think Dragon Mount has been around since 98, I think.
I think so, yes.
So I was in college during that time.
Yeah.
But it's such a great community, and I'm really excited about, I guess, the fandom. What has that been like for you? What has been your sort of reception within the fandom so far?
If we're talking just the books, it's been great. That's what I love about a book series. Anybody can read it, and you have no idea what the other person's going to be like, but you have that one factor that you have together.
Yes.
But now when it's come to the casting of the show, it's really interesting seeing the dichotomy of, you read a book, you see a movie in your head. And if your movie is not the same as the actual, and if there are changes, but yet again, like, the series is 30 years old, there has to be changes. It's been interesting in seeing people, whether or not they have grace with themselves and grace with others, or if they're just going to dig in and just fight the casting. They can't do anything.
Especially on the internet, grace is not like a value that seems to be celebrated. Except when we do stuff, of course. We're always.
There's been a lot of fantastic, wonderful people, and it's a community. And I think also with the incoming TV show, it's going to blow up, which is also really scary for people who are used to this smaller, close knit. Like Jordan Con, I think, is only like 8,000 attendance, versus you go to Dragon Con, it's what, 40,000 now. And this now has the potential, and it's kind of like, oh, it's my cozy home, and now it's suddenly strangers, and everybody's coming in. So there is space for everyone. It's just going to be a learning curve, and it's okay.
I think that's very well said. With the casting, it's tough because you have in your head, like you said, even if it's not I pictured some, we're going to have to go ahead and do our pronunciation thing soon, because I want to talk about characters without giving it away. Let's just say Matt, because that one's not on the list. Well, that's a bad example, because he kind of looks like what I pictured in the books. But there are others that you have in your head one thing, but it gets cast and you're like, that's what that character looks like. But then you look at the actual description from the books. You're like, oh, they were dark-skinned all along, or whatever.
It wasn't even mentioned. That's the best part. It's like, when it's only mentioned, it's just hair color and like height.
Right.
And then suddenly you're like, oh.
That's right. Oh gosh. Shockingly, I pictured everyone in these books to look exactly like me, even though it either wasn't said or it was said, but and I just missed it. And the other part you said is very true too. I mean, Wheel of Time's my favorite series, but I also love Terry Brooks and all these other ones. When Song of Ice and Fire was being adapted for HBO, I had said, I'm not going to watch this. I refuse because I love the, I just said, it can't, they're going to ruin it. And then I saw, I think like the previews and I said, ooh, this might be good. And then it was amazing. And now with the Wheel of Time, I've just been terrified. Steve knows. How many times have I said this to you?
Countless. And it really does just come up out of nowhere, not being facetious. He's like, I'm worried about this. They're going to do this. And, and I think also it's part of it. It's something that means a lot to you. And like you were saying, Kitty, it's a community that it's a precious thing to them. And to have everyone come in, and also, something that was your own by itself, you don't want someone else to take your baby and, raise it wrong.
At least the one thing we have, though, is this book series is finished, unlike Game of Thrones.
Very true. And you've got, I know Harriet is involved.
Yes.
That's Robert Jordan's widow, who was also his editor. And I think, is Brandon Sanderson technically involved? Okay.
He is. So Team Jordan is, it's Harriet, Marie, and Alan, and then also Brandon Sanderson. And they are all still very active and very, like I said, our pronunciations, we know where to go to get them.
Right. And by the way, speaking of pronunciations, what's really funny too is there is a glossary at the end of the book.
Oh, I know.
And so I'm the type of person that when I get a book, I open the first page, I look at the copyright, I read the dedication, and I just, I just consume the whole thing. I remember getting to the end of Eye of the World and going, oh my gosh, I've been pronounced. This was here the whole time. I could have just flipped back and seen what how these names were supposed to be said. But by then it was too late. It was
it's already in your head. I've with doing these pronunciations, people are like, oh, that's it. But I'm still going to call them this. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
The power of books.
Yeah, it has been fun to see. I was, I think maybe the first video I saw you in, or the first one that I actually interacted with was when you brought up the first pronunciation guide. I do want to mention too, like what you said, I'm scared. So I put I have a Twitter of Time character. It's, Pad and Fane, which who knows if that's even being said right. It's probably Faine or something, but which is not a lovable character, but I was very fascinated by this character. First read through and want to know where it's going to go. But I've stopped going on the Twitter of Time because it's like, I go on every once in a while, but there's so much, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of good stuff, but then there's a lot of like arguing about little things. I'm like, I just want to enjoy that, like this without that going. So it's got to be a fine balance, and you being involved with the community, I think is a really good thing. And what you guys are doing at Dragonmount, because it's really emphasizing the fun parts of the show, the positive. Like you're not coming out saying, what did you think about this person being, I mean, you do a little bit of that, but it's always coming from a good place. Right. I've noticed. So, and I don't even have a Facebook account, so I haven't gone on. Well, I have one, but
he has one.
Deactivated.
Do you have MySpace?
He's been banned.
Just finally got rid of my MySpace now. So anyway, I don't know why I'm making this all about me. I think I'm excited to talk about Wheel of Time if you haven't noticed, but let me ask you this before we get into the pronunciation guide. Do you have a favorite character? And if so, have they been cast yet? How do you feel about it?
Lanfear she's my girl. And it's been an interesting journey for me as an actor whom is watching a show being made from an American author that even uses American accents from specific parts of the US for specific people in the books, and then being told publicly that they are not hiring American actors and they're going to be filming in Europe because fantasy means European accent. And I mean, and this is all personal. This is not Dragonmount. This is me. This is me, because it really bothers me that like we have this amazing American author who based, I don't want to say some in case they come up later, but like certain groups on like the Texas Southern drawl.
Yes. Yes.
And then suddenly, no, it's fantasy. Let's make them like sound like elves. Like,
it's a really good point.
That's why I'm like Lanfear. I would even settle for, Dark Friend number 3 right now, but I'm American.
I tell you what, the Lanfear, I saw your Lanfear character after already having seen you do a bunch of other clips. And when I saw the Lanfear, I was like, whoa. She just transformed. I guess that's what actors do. But I was like, that's amazing. That is Lanfear. That is so good. So yeah, it is weird how the British thing seems to be like, that's okay. Now we know that RJ took from Japanese culture very clearly. He took from, like you said, Southern United States very clearly. I mean, he took from all, and frankly, he got a lot of acclaim for that. And for women being in power and women being the, spoiler alerts here, but the only ones that could actually wield the magic of the series, the one power. And now it's like kind of that's all changing a little bit. So I understand your frustration there. So hopefully, if you do get cast, I hope it's Dark Friend, because that would be more fun, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Or an Eamon Fielder, just, what would be more fun? An actual Dark Friend or just sort of, somebody with an apple cart? I think.
Oh, Dark Friend.
Dark Friend. You could be like a Copland or a Conger or something.
I could just, random woman with a knife around the shadows that's going to potentially stab someone. Something that I could probably do in real life.
Yeah, speaking of Pound and Fane, you never know when he's going to get stabby. Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead now and do our we're going to do, I called it a game earlier. I don't know if it's an exercise. I don't know what it is.
I think it's a chance to embarrass me.
That's what it is.
Everyday life provides me that opportunity, so why not do it here also? Let's do this. I'm ready.
All right, so here's what's going to happen.
All right.
I'm going to ask about some names. I said names and places. It ends up just being names. Characters from the Wheel of Time. I'm going to put them on the screen. We're all going to take turns saying how we would pronounce it. So Steve's never seen Wheel of Time, so he's going to go first. And after he goes and we stop laughing or we're like blown away, I'll say what I think it is, and then also what I used to think it was before seeing the glossary, and before seeing, more importantly, the Wheel of Time pronunciation guide from Dragonmount, social medias. And then Kitty's going to set the record straight with the pronunciation.
And you can also laugh and set us straight at the same time if you're still giggling. We won't. I'm used to it. Trust me.
Thank you.
All right.
And I also, by the way, I want to hear, you don't get off that easy though, Kitty, because I want you to set us straight, but I also want you to tell us if you remember what you thought it was. Okay. So we are going to start with this one. Now, for those that are just listening, the spelling of this name is Egwene. All right, Steve, what do you think?
All right. I think you guys might have said this, which will make it worse if I get it wrong. Egwene.
So, okay, we're not laughing.
Okay.
And so for me, I would say Egwene, but I used to read it as Egwene, and that's all she will ever read to me is Egwene. So Kitty, what's the actual pronunciation?
You got it right. It's Egwene.
Yeah.
And
Great job,
too called it Egwene.
Yeah.
Always.
Did we say Egwene earlier? I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
Because we did say one of the characters, and I
think we'll see.
We'll go back to the tape.
Okay.
All right. So good job, Steve.
The only other word I remember is TikTok and Kitty implying that she could knife somebody if necessary.
Well, this is like when I got the guess that Lil right. Mm-hmm. So we have another little game we play on our show where Steve gives different, how there's like a million rappers that have Lil in front of it. We do a name that Lil, and I got that right.
And I love it.
Yeah, and I'm still looking down on him because of that.
It just means I'm hip and cool, right? Okay.
Right. All right. I'm on 5. Let's go.
All right, here we go. Next one. Steve's 1 for 1. This one is spelled Moiraine.
Overthinking it. Moiraine.
Okay. I think it's actually Moiraine, but it will always be Moiraine to me as well.
Okay.
Kitty, what is it?
It is Moiraine. It's kind of got a moi.
Yes.
I was thinking of that, but
Kitty, did you also, is it Moiraine to you as well, or did you always know this one?
It was Moiraine to me, because as a science degree, and I was in geological anthropology, some sort of class, and learning about the moraines. It is it's a rock geological term. So I'm like, oh, it's like the detritus of from glaciers. Don't judge me. It's been a while since college.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you're bringing in actual good hard stuff in here, and you said detritus. Wow, not detritus.
Yeah.
Detritus, which I'm sure is the correct spelling, and I'm sure I would have jacked that up.
Yeah.
So you just hit on like another pronunciation issue I have in my life.
But I might have said it wrong because I've also heard it detritus. But I'm like, I don't know.
You sounded really smart. Now, if
say
you
it
just
with
say
confidence.
it with a British accent, just kidding.
She can handle a knife. I wouldn't push it too far.
Yeah,
with that.
no, I wouldn't either. And you haven't even seen the Lanfear, and Lanfear is a scary.
She's coming. She's coming to TikTok.
Oh, you might have to get on. You might have to get back on TikTok.
It will be cross-posted to Instagram and Facebook, so you can still see it there through Dragon Mouth.
He's a Reels guy, so that's good. That'll make him. He's a Reels purist. All right.
I'm a MySpace purist.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Next one up. This one is spelled Faile.
Filet.
So
I nailed it, didn't I?
What I love is that Steve is trying, because it was always fail to me. Actually, this is one that in my head, I now say the right one.
Filet.
Well, I think it's actually Faile. Is that right?
Yes.
And what was your history with this one? I feel like I'm stealing the thunder by saying what it actually is. I'm just going to say the wrong one going forward, but like I only know this because of years of being a fan. But anyway.
It was interesting because you read it and you're like, it can't be Faile. Why would he name somebody Faile? Like, that's a terrible name. So I think I did also like Faile or Faile, but within the boundaries of it.
Do you think Faile is the most hated character in this show, or in the series?
It's interesting because I do believe so. Yes, her, and strangely enough, there's a lot of hatred towards another one who is a main character, and I do believe her name is coming up.
Oh.
Yeah, and of course, and we're not going to do this one, but Gawain is hated, which I never really understood that. I like him. I always liked him. It's weird.
It is. One of the weird things about the books that people always forget is you keep getting older, but the characters are teenagers. Like, they're going to be full of anger. They're like going to be full of anger. They're like full of all these, I don't want to say hormones. There's not as much sex as there could have been. God, that sounds like I'm complaining. I'm not.
People that watch Song of Ice and Fire might be a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, they added those though. They added a lot more sex for the TV show for that.
That is true. They did. But I mean, there was definitely more sex, but they added way more. But hey man, you have to wait till book 6 or 7 for the igloo scene. But anyway,
but it's still like, it's not even there's no actual
they don't
description. It's just fade to black.
Yeah, exactly. And what's crazy about that is the fact that Rand was not a monogamous, and there was some definite there was some potential there. I wonder if they will change that in the show.
I don't think they will, but I am hoping that this is another reason the book series is 30 years old. So yes, that seemed, progressive back then, but it's just, polygamy. There's no women that get more than one man in the Wheel of Time. That's what I'm hoping they change.
Wait a minute. Well, but the Greens,
remember Showcase?
They bond, but like I think there is. I'm trying to remember which Green it is. Blanking on her name. She's one that I want to say they allude to that she's got multiple partners, but your point is well taken.
It's like an illusion versus
that's right. Yeah.
When these have their sister wives in the books, but there's no brother husbands. Yeah. Give me some brother husbands. I will take a few.
As long as it's not Filet, because he sounds like a bad guy.
Steve right now is the voice of like everyone that listens to this podcast. It's just probably at least less than 50% that doesn't read Wheel of Time. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
The next one, the first one with 2 here. So it's Mazrim That's the first name. Second name is Taim, or last name. Steve Areno.
Mazrim Taim.
So I see. I put this in here because I was hoping you would get messed up with Faile and say like Mazrim Taim. I actually don't know this one. I say Mazrim Taim also. What is this one?
Mazrim Taim.
It is Taim.
It is Taim.
My strategy kind of worked because it got Steve to say it wrong.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is still one that he's always going to be Mazrim Taim.
It's Mazrim Taim.
It's just Taim.
It's like, because also your brain does a thing where it's going to give you the most efficient, like if you don't know what it is, it's going to give you the most efficient, the thing that most locks into what you think it should say. And why would I look at that and say Taim? I guess unless I read the glossary first, but yeah, Mazrim Taim. All right, so next one. Oh, this is a good one.
Yep.
I feel like I should be tugging my braid here. Okay.
Oh, I should have.
Quit distracting me with you. I had to make him take the braid off before we started. All right.
I will fold my arms under my ample bosom here, or my breasts, as they say in the show. How much does he say that, though? Real quick before we do this.
It's ridiculous. I have not looked up the amount, but that was, I think, the second TikTok I did for Dragon Mount was just, she's mad when in the books.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Nynaeve.
Okay. Now I'm trying to think of some other things that we've done and kind of put that here in the mix. Nynaeve.
Let's keep going until we get it.
Nynaeve. No, Nynaeve.
You're getting warm there.
Warm, definitely warm.
None of those are right.
Nynaeve.
Now you just sound like Wally.
Yeah, I think I'm actually having a stroke now too. I'm going to stop speaking before I black out. All right.
This will always be, I have not heard anyone say this one, but in my mind, because you see this and your brain does kind of lock up. It's not Mazrim Taim where it's like, that's Mazrim Taim. I always, in my head, I turned this into Nynaeve, which it's not even phonetic, but Nynaeve was what I always said. And you can tell us the actual name.
It is Nynaeve.
Nynaeve.
But I always called it Nynaeve.
Nynaeve was your. Did he say? He didn't say Nynaeve, did he? He came close.
He was like Nynaeve.
You know what?
Like there was a stroke in between.
I'm taking that credit. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a stroke in between. Okay, there's one last one.
All right, one last one.
And this is not a character. This is a group of characters here. And it's AES SEDAI.
Aes Sedai.
And that is how I always. Yeah, Steve knows he's wrong. That's what I always thought too. I would say Aes Sedai. And then I heard it, and it is
Aes Sedai.
Aes Sedai. So it's very close. But that messed me up. That was the first one when I saw it. I was like, because this isn't just one character. This is a bit. This term is used a lot, and I will never change it from Aes Sedai. Aes Sedai. That's how I say it in my head.
Now that almost sounds to me like a little bit like the authors. Like we want to. Once you think you kind of know what you're doing, I'm gonna put you off a little bit there.
No, I think he took all language rules and just tossed them in the air and saw what landed. Like it's like, okay, that should be a diphthong. It's not. Why are we not?
Right.
Okay, cool. Oh, silent H. That's random.
Yeah, it's like I read an interview of Quentin Tarantino talking about Inglourious Bastards, and okay, what's the meaning behind misspelling bastards? And he's just like, it's just a thing I do.
It looks cool.
I think that's how Robert Jordan was. I think you're right. It's just I'm just gonna do it because I can. Aes Sedai. And by the way, I think I would be a gray. It seems boring, but I think what are they like philosophy and logic and stuff like that.
Mediators,
and they usually back the blue. The blue that has a different meaning now, but like the blue Aja over the red, which are the worst in my opinion. But
for the books, yes.
For the books, yes.
It's interesting because a lot of the Wheel of Time communities that are online, the red Ajas have evolved in different ways. So
Really?
yes, it's so strange. My sister, who is my, partner in crime if we're caught, she's a red and I'm a green. And the way it has evolved over time throughout the online communities has been almost like this opposite side of the same coin for red and green. It's been really interesting because we've learned to differentiate between, book green or book red, online red.
I just haven't been as involved with it for various reasons with the online community to even know that. And I guess now that you say it, like once the series is over, you're kind of like, well, the red definitely weren't the bad guys, like at all. Like they were.
Some of them were, but there's bad people in every Aja.
Yep.
Just some rose to power in the red that, we've all lived through times where somebody's on top that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, be it school or politics, I'm not being political.
That's what I tell the kid. I said, sometimes our team's going to win. Sometimes the other team's going to win. You deal with it. And also Nynaeve is the proper way to say that name.
100%.
Steve keeps trying to reel us in. It can't be done. Just like Rand, sorry. You can't put me in a box. All right. If anybody from Wheel of Time is listening to this, they will hopefully give me some credit, and it won't have the same look Steve has on his face right now. Okay, that's all the ones I had. I guess, do you have any other ones off the top of your head that people mess up a lot that you want to set the record straight on? I'm just springing this on you, so no pressure.
Probably like the two are going to be Tom.
Yeah.
Which you think, it's Tom, but it's spelled Thom, but the H is silent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then this one gets people really mad, but it's Lawn, not Lan.
Yeah, that bothers me too.
It bothers me too.
That, it bummed me out.
I know, but I like being a spokesperson. I have to be like, yes, he is Lawn.
Lan, Lawn. Yeah.
Like mow him.
Well, Steve and I are, as we mentioned at the top of the show, I think we are, I guess, experts in mispronouncing things.
Yes.
So this is very helpful. And thank you for all of the good work that you're doing. Is there anything else that you have going on that you want to, I guess, tell our listeners about? Any other Wheel of Time stuff or otherwise?
I do have a segment for the Wheel of Time community show. It is a cooking segment because I am a chef. And I'm actually pulling from the books, going through chapter by chapter and seeing what they are eating and then trying to make it a baseline simplistic recipe. Like you can zhuzh it up the way you want to, but it's definitely been interesting of realizing, wait a minute, is there soy sauce in the Wheel of Time? It's like, well, they do have root cellars and they do have containers, so they could do some fermentation. So it's been a lot more research on my end, which does not come across. I'm just like making things, which is great.
Right.
But there's a lot of thought going into it.
It could be like a Wheel of Time kombucha thing that comes out of this for you also.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I did watch the Tam Althor, the stew. And I actually sent it to a friend of mine because we used to, when I used to read the series in high school, because I started in high school reading it, and I would just take pages and I'd highlight them and I'd show my friend Eric, because we would just laugh about the way he would describe food. First of all, it would always make me hungry, but it was also just so funny how descriptive he would get with like the crusty bread and the lentils and everything. So it was really a trip watching you actually make it. And you did a great job. It definitely felt very natural. So yes, please, everyone go check that out.
Yeah.
And I was trying to decide whether or not to bring this up or whether it be creepy, but
I'll say it.
Yeah.
We enjoyed your cooking video.
Yes.
It is the most comforting thing. And I mean this sincerely, like it is so relaxing to watch. There's just something about it. It's like watching a river go by or something. I mean, honestly, it is just very soothing to watch.
Is it like Wheel of Time ASMR? Is this like a thing I'm starting now?
Maybe it's a food thing. Maybe it's because I saw Butcher, then I saw that, and I just had good associations. But honestly, not in a weird way. It's
that's great.
It's just very comforting to watch.
Yeah, it's good. I think cooking show
is
definitely an option for you. So you've got the culinary background and hey, Tam's stew. And then I'm sure, have you done, is it Marinal Veer's honey cakes? Or
That was the first episode. And
You
it was
did
very
do that,
interesting.
okay.
I did like a rustic version because, in Tarvalon, there's going to be like the super bougie, but this was, you should watch. It's good.
I will go watch that one. I have been making my way through different ones. Kitty, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a blast, and we're going to keep watching the videos and checking out Dragonmount. If you want to find out more about Kitty, please check out her website, kittyrallo.com. She's also on Facebook at Kitty Rallo and Instagram at The Dark Ray of Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you will find her on all things Dragonmount. So make sure you subscribe to the Dragonmount TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram as well. Thanks again, Kitty.
This was an absolute blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Speaksies.